Welcome to Faith and Freedom. For the next few minutes, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you as we discuss the legal victories and challenges to your fundamental freedoms and religious liberties. Faith and Freedom comes to you from Liberty Counsel, a civil liberties education and legal defense organization. Join us now as Matt Staver, the President and General Counsel of Liberty Counsel, explains the latest legal issues all across this country in the courtrooms of America. Liberty Counsel is winning the battle for your constitutional freedoms.
President Obama once again embarrasses himself and our nation with a classless outburst. I'm Matt Barber, Director of Cultural Affairs with Liberty Counsel and Associate Dean with Liberty University School of Law, and for Matt Staver today. And joining me in studio is Sean Akers, Professor of Law with the Law School and Policy Analyst with Liberty Counsel. Sean, it's been, making the rounds. President Obama, while speaking a couple weeks ago with Matt Lauer, in an interview, said this, and I'm going to have to self-censor here because what he said was crude, and he essentially swore, cussed, during a conversation with Lauer, I guess trying to prove how tough he is. The president said this, quote, in the context of talking about the oil spill in the Gulf, I guess the president wants to give the impression that he's doing something, and by golly, he is really angry. Spike Lee, the liberal producer and director in Hollywood, said that the president needed to, quote, go off, needed to show he was angry instead of being monotone and calm and everything. So I guess the president took his advice and in trying to prove to America just how tough he is, he said this, quote, I was down there a month ago before most of these talking heads were even paying attention to the Gulf. A month ago, I was meeting with fishermen down there, standing in the rain, talking about what a potential crisis this could be. He says, quote, and I don't sit around just talking to experts because this is a college seminar. We talk to these folks because they potentially have the best answers. So I know who's blank to kick. And, of course, he didn't say blank. He said a word that refers to a donkey and a word that I would certainly have any of my children sitting in the corner if they used this word publicly or otherwise. And, Sean, we're not being prudish here. We're not being, overreacting to this. And certainly it's not the end of the world that the president would use this language. But a couple things come to mind here. First of all, he's trying to show us how tough he is here. What business does a president talking about who's blank to kick? To me, I'm reminded of that kind of really, little, skinny guy on the playground who yells and screams and tells everybody how tough he is, but his actions don't really back it up. But more than that, I think this is just classless. This just shows the president is not a statesman here. The Chicago kind of gutter talk here, it is not statesmanlike, and it degrades the office of the presidency. We expect more from our commander-in-chief, from the leader of the free world, than to engage in seventh grade playground talk.
Matt, when at around the time of the Revolutionary War, England had a motto. It was "Make the world England." Well, I think that this administration's motto is "Make the world Chicago," because the only thing that this kind of outburst shows is not toughness. It shows desperation. It shows that we have a president that doesn't have the experience to know how to handle a national crisis like this. So what he wants to do is what you do in Chicago. You go and crack skulls. You go and find somebody to blame for it. And that's all that the administration has been able to do here is point fingers of blame. Now, the problem is, Matt, is that we've got basically an account with the entire world of how much credibility our nation has, and the president himself has an account with the American people, and there's a certain aspect of honor that comes with, that's always come with, even with our worst presidents, that's come with the presidency. When you take a cheap shot like this because you don't have any answers, you've just made a huge deduction from the account of honor from the presidency, from the office of the president, regardless of who sits in it. The presidency is worth less today than it was before that statement was made. Now, you're right, it's not going to end the world, but it is a big deal. It's a really big deal.
Well, I think it's a big deal in addition to, as we point out, degrading the office of the presidency, I think it gives us further insight into how this guy thinks.
I think you're right.
Again, rather than addressing the oil spill directly, he's coming out, he's talking tough, he's pointing a finger, and he's blaming people. It's all on somebody else. It's never him. It's never any deficiency. For instance, we know that when this oil spill happened, that BP and the federal government, laws have been passed. There was a procedure in place that said that you burn the oil. An immediate burn would have prevented the oil from affecting the climate to the degree that it has, the wildlife, the vegetation. But because radical environmentalists jumped up and down and screamed, the president capitulated to the environmentalists and did not allow the burn to go forward. So his own inaction there, or his preventative measures here, preventing the actual fail-safes that were in place to go forward, whose blank should he kick? Well, maybe he should start with himself, instead of pointing the finger at everybody else.
All governance starts with self-governance.